Hello, hello. Welcome back, guys. I'm Stacia Kennedy, and we are here at Real Estate Funnel Systems to talk a little bit about quarantine real estate predictions.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
I know you guys might be tired of little quarantine stuff, but it's something that I think we need to mention here. So if you're watching here on Facebook, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And of course, if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. I have Real Estate Funnel Systems co-founder Eric B here with over 20. It's getting kind of a little old here now. Just kidding. But he's seen the ups and the downs. So Eric, tell us a little about what you think is going to be happening here.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's the conversation right now, isn't it? In real estate, for all of us, this has been nothing but this conversation really for the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to keep it light. I don't want to really bore everybody with details and hardcore. I think when I look through this, like Stacia said, I've been in real estate for a long time, and so I've been through a couple of these swings. My father's still appraising, and he's been appraising for 40 years, right? So I'm a real estate family, and so we have a lot of that history. And so we kind of, obviously you want to pull from history to kind of, identify how and predict what kind of behaviors are going to be happening right now. I'm an optimist by nature, so I'm always looking for the silver lining. There's nothing great about what's happening. Like, let's be real about that. We've had a couple cases in my family, and of course, I'm thankful that everybody in my family has made it through, but I know that it's not, I don't take it for granted. So my thoughts and prayers are with everybody that's been affected by this. It's real. And, so what we do about it, I focus on what you can control, right? So professionally, I'm looking at, okay, so this is this is the moment just before the big game. Like when people ask, well, are you nervous? Yeah, I am nervous. I'm nervous as a professional from a stance that, it's kind of like that nervousness of when you're lacing up your shoes before the big game or something like this. In the sense that I know that this moment's really important. There's going to be a lot of transactions happening here in the near future. I know it's hard to believe that in this moment because we're in, this unusual lockdown silence. It's like, but this is going to create, there's a bottleneck, that's happening. And so once we get out of quarantine, there's going to be a release. There's still, we're still low on inventory. And so there's going to be this kind of, spring back to action. And is that going to be like this big wave of success? No, not necessarily, because we're going to be damaged, as an economy and the buyer, it's not going to be the same. But we came into this with such low inventory already. We had a crisis on our hands coming into this thing. A housing shortage, and an inventory shortage. So that didn't just change. We still have an inventory shortage. So, from a real estate perspective, we're going to be, chewing up that inventory, right out of the game, but we're going to be looking at, how the buyers, how they're reacting, for different reasons, what the banks are doing with their loan programs. That's what I really keep a pulse on. I'm watching what the banks are doing, because if the banks don't tighten everything up, which they logically sure are probably, right? It's kind of unavoidable, but like how far and how bad do they tighten up? Because when they restrict our ability to buy or do transactions as we do, then that's when we really get hit. That's when, the supply goes up, and, with the buyers can't buy, man, it turns into not a great scenario. So hopefully if the banks keep their lending programs going and jiving and keeps the economy going that way, and the interest rates are obviously so low that if you can buy, you want to, right? This is very cheap money. So we want to take advantage of that. And so we want to do that. So So that's just kind of, that's the discussion, and that's what I'm looking at. And, this unemployment balloon is, how long is that going to take to absorb back into the economy? We don't know. There's so many unknowns. So we have to look at all that. And we have to, so as a real estate professional, and like what we were talking about, or, what we said in the description of this event, it's like, there are going to be some segments of this market that you're going to want to focus your attention on, your marketing dollars, and communicate with, so that you're taking advantage of the transactions that are going to be done, and so that you're making money. There's going to be certain people, certain businesses out here that are going to do really well coming out of this. That's just the facts. I mean, they call it a transfer of wealth, or whatever happens, but it's going to happen. So the people that are positioned correctly, the people that are looking far enough ahead and getting ahead of that, of what's going to happen, are the people that are going to, reap the benefits of being there, seizing the moment and helping people through this. Every real estate transactions, to me, and the way I look at it, that's every time we do a transaction, that's people being helped. Right? Like, it's a great thing for the people the people that are selling, people that are buying. It's great for the economy. It's a wonderful thing all the way through. So I think as many transactions as we can do is our responsibility as real estate professionals. Okay. So who should we be marketing to? Who should we have our eye on? What demographic is that? I think it's an interesting topic of, the last recession, the last housing bust that we had, the liar loans, the mortgage, it was the mortgage crisis, right? So we had those loans that were just BS, right? I remember that. I had a couple. And that was right when I was first buying. I was 24, 25 years old, and I was buying my first couple houses, and I was all up in those loans. And luckily, it worked out for me. So like, I didn't get bit by that, but I was an appraiser. I was in the industry, and I saw a lot of people play that game aggressively. Again, as an appraiser, I was part of it. The refinance to get as much home equity lines of credit to then go buy I was all in that. And now that ingredient doesn't apply here. We don't have liar loans right now. We don't have that stuff in the marketplace. So like, we're way better off in that arena there. But the thing that we do have is this balloon of short-term rentals, right? This has been such a fad, over the last 5 years or so, when it really caught on. And the same thing, just like the old mortgage crisis, was like, that's how people were buying these rentals under cap rates that just didn't exist before, under rental terms that we were not calculating values into this before. And so that kind of changed the game as an appraiser. Like, how do you look at a property? Are you looking at it and evaluating it from a short-term rental income perspective? Are you using that income approach? Or are you using a more traditional? And so people kept getting more and more aggressive with their valuations. Oh, I could buy it because I can rent it for, and then I'll rent it and oh boy, guess what? We saw people like, I own 10 rentals now, short-term rentals. I'm in the short-term rental game. That's okay. I'm not trying to be the I told you so here. I'm just saying, like, that's the segment of the market that I think is like, man, this is a really bad scenario for that. People aren't traveling anymore. We're just not right now. And I think this is going to affect, like, are you going to go stay at somebody else's house now with this coronavirus floating around? I mean, how could you even know? Like, that's just crazy, right? So I think that there's going to be effects, and I think the short-term rental segment is going to be just killed.
I wonder how many of you guys have an Airbnb or have some short-term VRBO, right?
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. And I don't mean to just rain hard on that parade. I'm just like, that's a concern. There's no doubt about that. So I'm sure there's people here in that segment that are going to get really creative, and they're going to find solutions, and you're entrepreneurs and you're resilient, and your intellect is going to win for sure. That's awesome. And I champion you guys for sure. I just know that that's going to be the exception. So market to the people that bought houses. They're absentee owners that bought houses in the last 5 years, that have some equity in there, and because the other scenario, so, however you can find the data to the short-term rentals people. Okay. So absentee owners that have bought in the last 2, 3, 4 years, right? And especially in certain pockets of the country around certain campuses and, metropolitan areas, there's a high chance that they were a, short-term rental type buyer. So just keep that in mind. I know I'm kind of zoning in on that.
I just thought of that when you said campus. Like, what about those areas that have, high camp, college students? College students are now going to be all distant learning. Right. And a lot of the colleges that have a lot of international students, I'm not sure that they're going to be coming or traveling. I don't know.
Or how long is this going to affect that? Like, because the longer that delay happens, like let's say it takes 6 months before they are coming back to these rental properties, or that does, or 8 months or 12 months, or who knows, that's going to have a cascading effect on the end result, right? That duration of time, no doubt about it. So obviously the shorter that duration of time is, the better off everybody is. But there's pockets that are going to be clearly harder hit. So just, you might focus some of your marketing dollars on that demographic, and if you need help on how to, a lot of how I do my marketing, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate with this. It's about knowing your audience, okay? Knowing your demographic. Who can you help? How do you find your target audience? How, who is it? How can you help them? And so if you feel like you can help these people that need to liquidate their short-term rental strategy game, and you want to market to them, it's about finding that data. So if you have any questions about data, all of these people are found through data, right? So that's a big thing that I focus on is understanding data, how to find and utilize these social ingredients to reverse engineer into the data set that's represented in. So anyways, the people that are that have equity in their homes. Okay, so another scenario that's going to be happening in general, just logical here, is the land rich, cash poor. Okay, how many of you guys have ever heard that term, land rich, cash poor? It's an old saying, been around forever. Okay, and just to be very elementary about that, those are the people that have. Okay, imagine the people that bought a house, qualified for the house, bought the house, living in the house just fine, but their income and their lifestyle, it's just amazing how that kind of levels out at some point. Okay, so they bought the house 10 years ago. Okay, and they're making no problem, making payments, great, here we go. And then, but really they're almost back into that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle cycle, right? They got the mortgage, they're keeping on top of it, but man, they're not like way ahead every month, right? There's a lot of people in this category. Okay, there's no harm to this. I mean, there's no wrong here. But the point is that your income and your lifestyle, they just kind of level out at some point in the masses. Okay, and so, but over time, over those 10 years, their house appreciated quite a bit. Man, we've had a good real estate run. Right. So maybe their house that they bought for 200 now is worth 500, or, something like this. That's kind of what that chunk looks like. You bought it for 500. Now it's worth 850. Okay. Something like this, whatever it is. That's now, if you lose your job. Okay. If this quarantine hit you hard, and now it's like shit, my cash flow engine is broken. I don't have that job anymore. And I still have this mortgage payment. I still have this lifestyle. And I got some Band-Aids around, right? But at some point, the Band-Aids start running out or whatever else. And that now you're land rich, cash poor. You don't have the cash to keep your lifestyle going, but you do have 200, 300 grand equity in your house that you bought 10 years ago. Okay. So like when you're facing the music here in the next month, 2 months, as this affects people, they're going to be like, well, shit, man, I'm going to have to, sell this house or that rental house. I'm going to have to grab that equity. I'm going to have to get my hands on the equity and be really smart with it, but I'm going to have to do that. Okay. So that I'm not land rich, cash poor. I got to level that out. Okay. And that's a survival means, and that's where people will, logically, you grab 100 grand equity out of your house. Unfortunately, you go turn into a tenant, you rent a property, but now you have that cushion of cash that allows that transition in life. Get that next job until you get that, the next, off you go. So, how do I know this so well? When you do as many seller appointments as I do, you get to know this is the human story out there. This is what is going on all the time. And so this is just, you can see the wave of these ingredients, they're just going to be showing up. So people with equity are going to need to likely grab that equity out. So we're going to be marketing significantly to the people that have just a single homeowner that has, or maybe they have 2 houses and they have equity in their property. We're going to be marketing to them. And so that's absentee with equity. So when you're in this equation, right. And let's say you have you do really well. Let's paint this picture. You do really well. You got your primary house and you got 2 rental properties. One's pretty leveraged. There's not a lot of equity there. So you just got to keep that thing going, right? Because you sell it, you're not really getting much. So you just got to keep that going. But then you have this other rental property where you have 200 or 300 grand in equity. Okay. So now you got some chunk it's paying you cash flow, and that's great. But there's that chunk of equity there. And then the same scenario over here in your primary house, you might have some equity there, but not enough, and you're barely paying your bills. Okay. This person in this equation, they'll likely sell the asset with the equity so they can free this up and keep going. Okay. So that's that land rich, cash poor scenario with somebody with multiple houses. They're going to be grabbing that equity if they need to. Okay. So again, we'll be marketing to those people, absentee owners with equity. Okay. Because they're going to be considering this. So that's another buyer now or seller. Then that's what we're focusing on now. That's like the right now. That's what we're doing in general. Okay. And there's more slices, and we kind of maneuver this a little bit more, right? But this is the general tone that we're, or thought process that we're taking right now. Now moving out of this and into the next phase, look at 4 months down the road, 6 months down the road from right now. That's when we're going to be seeing more of that foreclosure stuff. Okay. Right now is when that foreclosure, we're watching the foreclosure bubble expand right now. They're not happening. The banks aren't foreclosing right yet, right? The problem, the crack is happening right now. It's the fracture. Okay. And then the Band-Aids, the bank's going to extend, or this, that, or this, okay. These are the Band-Aids that are going to be out there. Okay. But if what broke doesn't get fixed, if that job doesn't come back, if your life really got broke, health, medical bills, all of that, like boom, maybe you were out for weeks, right? And all of this. So anyways, I don't want to go down the grim story, but that's the fracture that happens. And that's a delayed foreclosure bomb. Because by the time all these ingredients and the Band-Aids wear off and this allowance and blah, 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 boom, foreclose. Okay. It's going to go to the end of the line for a lot of people. And so 6 months from now, I think we're depending on how bad this moment, or bad, how long this extends, is going to really have how many people get fractured and how bad those fractures happen is being determined right now, I feel. And so we'll see the effects, true effects show up in the real estate space on a delayed fashion 6 months from now, right? 8 months from now, we might have these foreclosures. We'll be dealing with this moment here, right? It'll finally be flushing through. That's kind of what I'm thinking in general. And then further down the road, okay, if this were to really kind of continue to slide, like let's just pretend that we lose quite a bit of ground in our market values. Like, let's say we dip 10%. That could happen. Like a 10% slide in market values is not out of question. Okay, over the next year, whatever. That's not my prediction necessarily. I'm just saying that's feasible. Okay, and if that were to happen, then now we're back into potentially talking about short sales, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so those of us that did a lot of short sales back in the past, we're going to be back in the short sale. We'll be seeing more of those potentially, right? See, that cycle could. Now, again, I don't want to lay claim that this is my prediction on any level necessarily, but this is where I'm kind of seeing the flow going and how the information and the behaviors will kind of shake out. That's kind of what I'm seeing. But we're in such uncharted territory, so major ingredients can affect any of this in any which direction. But as long as you stay in tune with all this and okay, what this ingredient means in the counter effect of it, then you just position yourself, right? And as long as you really know how to find this stuff through data, then you can get your marketing message right to these people, so that as these ingredients show up in our environment here, that you're just you know how to communicate to your audience.
Yeah, it's being flexible. I think it's so nice. I mean, this industry, right? You can do very, very well, and then things can pivot. So how important is that to be able to be in tune with what's going on and to be able to adapt as a real estate professional?
Yeah, man, it's been cool as a real estate professional career, my whole life, a real estate professional. I've had to reinvent myself many times, right? And that's just in adapting with the environment. So this is nothing. I'm no stranger to this, right now, and just kind of like, hey, just being resourceful, understanding how to position yourself and let it rip. Let's go. Got to make it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for adding your inputs. I've been reading a lot about this. We've been having conversations about this as a team. I would like to hear your opinion and what you think is going on, where you are going to be pivoting and repositioning your business. Please, comment below in this video. We'd like to interact with you and start the conversation here.
Yes, please. I would love to hear your take. If you think I'm crazy, let me know. If you think I'm spot on, I'd love to hear it too. Hit the like button, subscribe. We're into all of that stuff. Please, that's wonderful. We appreciate it. We're going to continue putting this out there. And especially if we get a lot of comments, we're going to be continuing to pour into it. So
thank you. Look out for our next video. We have a special guest that I want to sneak peek and plug. My mentor, Thach Nguyen, real estate investor, developer. He is the epitome of reinventing yourself and repositioning yourself. So we're going to see how he keeps his mindset and how he's been able to sustain himself over the last 30 years of doing real estate, I think. Now, I actually worked for him for 7 years, and it's going to be very interesting conversation. So we're glad to have him. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss it. All right.
Do not miss Thach. Man, Thach is legend in Seattle. So if you're from the Seattle area, you probably know who Thach is, and he is just dynamite energy. Station nailed it. I mean, I get chills. I get excited because he's somebody, when he's talking, I'm listening always. So we're going to have a great conversation next week.
All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next video.